United States Congress, I've seen all kinds of whistleblower retaliation. I've seen it across all industries. The United States tech industry is no different. These tech companies sitting in those ivory towers in Silicon Valley look to silence whistleblowers. They want to keep these brave men and women from telling.
She's not speaking yet. So, I co-create with the universe. This came across my timeline several days ago. I asked my cousin if she had seen the committee, the Senate committee with the hearing they're having. She said no. I was like, wow, because she watches the news. Again, I don't watch too much news, so this was brought up across my timeline back several days ago. I want to say we're April 14th. This was April 9th. Now, they're talking about Meta. Meta is a back door. Again, I'm saying things that are true now. As far as hacking the accounts, everything, a lot of things started coming to my attention when I switched over to watching through the TV. I'm sorry. It was my accounts, and not even really watching my account, just watching logged out. More information is brought through, and it was allowing me to see what I needed to see as far as how they're doing the accounts and how they are hacking accounts, channels, how they are siphoning money. Again, this is facts now. They've hacked into my account, I don't know how many times. It goes back to TikTok. We're talking about national security. Well, that's when it first came to my attention as far as seeing them hack the accounts. When I tried to start up a TikTok account, I noticed certain things were happening. Well, again, who's going to believe you when you're saying, "Oh yeah, my account's hacked. They don't want my information out. They don't want me to leave messages." It's not about that. It's about national security. Just recently, they went as far as to start messaging me from different numbers, and that's where I believe they brought in a young lady, well, platform. It was through Instagram. Now, again, I'm single, so yes, I went on a couple dating sites. Well, pretty much I pulled myself off of them. Okay. Well, I was messaged by a young lady. A lot of things needed to happen, but when she sent me her ID and everything. Again, started doing my research. Okay. I'm not somebody that I'm very intelligent. When I started doing the research, well, I noticed the ID was fake. When you start to see certain things like this, well, you're like, wow, how much are they putting into hacking my devices? Well, they were doing a lot. And now for them to do this, the committee,
And it's People's Liberation Army.
Through Facebook, that is the back door, one of the back doors. And yes, they are working with the Chinese government. She's saying it, but I am just reiterating it. I have all the facts. I have all the proof from them hacking my other laptop. I didn't realize how significant everything was until I started putting all the pieces of the puzzle together. They started hacking into the Wi-Fi, but they're doing everything through the phones. Now they're doing these the committee hearings, because of the amount of technology, but the amount of our privacy is at hand. The thing is, Facebook is one of the back doors. Nobody knows what happens behind the scenes. That's why they're having the trials right now, or the hearings.
Thank you, Senator Hawley, and thank you for your leadership.
So it started with TikTok. Again, well, that was Chinese, right? Well, they were stopping my account. They were hacking my account because I'm a truth teller. And I'm different from a lot of people. I have a tribe here that, and hopefully this does not throw you off because we're spiritualists, but we're just like you. I believe in the Lord. Hopefully you do. So right here, what's happening is they're getting down to the bottom of everything. This is more. This is bigger than all of us. We need to understand this. It goes way deeper than you understand. You and I understand. So hopefully, with what she's saying and with my proof, then there can be then something can be done, especially for all the money that's being laundered. When I noticed they took over my like I said, my accounts, I started several channels and wasn't doing it as a spiritualist. Again, this is about helping the broken hearts. Now, you're talking about AI. When I first started, it was about what I'm able to produce as far as energy. I'm able to produce, I'm a medium, so I'm able to produce who I channel. See, I'm able to produce the energy of your passed on loved ones. That's what this has always been about. Since 2018, again, 2019, I think I started my first channel. Well, I didn't realize they actually hacked my account until I realized about TikTok. They took it over then, and all of a sudden it just started happening from there. Just recently, they started using the AI through Instagram. So I knew it was big because they're sending me AI, but they're using young ladies. They're using a young lady that has a channel. Again, we're talking proof now. We're not talking superstition or superstition. We're not talking about what did I say? I'm sorry, I'm trying to think of the words. As far as conspiracy theories, no, nothing like that. They're sending me. Well, first they started asking for money. I already knew that was a red flag. Okay, before they asked for money, we were communicating a couple weeks before that, and then all of a sudden, certain things started happening. Well, why don't you come here so you can meet my family? Then all of a sudden, it turned into money. Right then, I already knew something was up, but before that, I didn't. I didn't realize it. I didn't realize how big it was. So I'm gonna say that for somebody to have 10 mailbox accounts, and they don't want you to. Again, I spoke to somebody on the phone. Again, I know who I was speaking to, and it was somebody that's high up in the company now. So you need to follow what I'm saying now. It's a little tricky, but it's not. If you know kind of what they're doing. Again, having all the proof, yeah, I have all the proof. It's not about Orion. It's not about anything like that. The AI, all that's created, it's fine. But we are talking about privacy. And we're talking about hacking into my personal devices, using my personal information, but also using my other account that I steered away from, not realizing Meta was Facebook. What's the green phone? WhatsApp. All that is backdoors. This is a big old. It's money. It's about money. But when they hacked into my other account, which was, why am I drawing a blank? That's why I was writing some things down. But Microsoft confirmation. Microsoft. They hacked into my Microsoft account. That's how I was able to find the hackers. That's how I was able to find who was doing this. See, you just can't come out and start saying certain things that, hey, but all of a sudden, not realizing code 130. We're able to speak. We're not able to slander, just come out and just slander people. No, I'm not here to slander nobody. I'm here to bring the truth. Because you can't see a lot of things through your phone until you get onto the platforms. If you're a creator, a content creator, then you start to look at different devices and how it's looking on your account. Again, the algorithm.
People watching and listening to you.
Well, they are selling our information. I didn't realize how big it was until, well, I'm a spiritualist. Does that make me any different from anybody? No, I just have certain abilities that God has given me. There's a lot of us that have God-given talents, just like singers, doctors. Everybody has, well, mother's intuition, your intuition, Claire's. There's a soul tribe here. There's many soul tribes here. But I noticed what they were doing and how they were hacking the account. It was really hard to, in the very beginning, to prove. And it sounded like people were crazy. Like, yeah, people thought I was crazy. By far am I crazy. I'm very intelligent. The thing is to prove these things. Every time I start to put something out, more and more information is coming out. I have other channels that over almost 500 videos, messages, but that are my right ear's starting to ring now, that have come to pass as far as prophecy, that you want to say predictions. Yeah, certain things did not have to happen, and I don't want to bring that energy into here as far as with the trials in Hollywood and all that stuff. No, because we're talking about Meta. We're talking about what Facebook has been doing. Mark Zuckerberg. Again, you can't use Instagram. You can't use certain technology if you don't have access to them. Again, when I started doing the research and how far this goes, this is really big. I realized how big it was when I started seeing how much trouble and how much money they were spending on hacking my devices. For them to take my other account. See, I was creating an open source AI. Okay? So, if I'm creating certain things and they have access to certain email accounts, well, then they're able to see what I'm doing behind the scenes. My scenes, what I'm doing with my devices. How is it that I had my Apple device, all my tablets, my phones hooked up to Linux? See, Linux is something that allows you to use all your devices. Again, this isn't just about Meta. This is about the corporations.
Joined their platforms, used algorithms that...
Again, about the platforms. Not a lot of people are going to believe what I'm saying, and that's fine. You don't have to. I'm not here to prove anything. I'm done proving things to people. What I am here to do is, well, justice. It is about our freedom. It is about our security, national security, and the back doors that they have open to the internet. And yes, OpenAI, Mark wasn't interested in none of that stuff. All of a sudden, there are certain things that started coming up. Same thing with Mr. I want to say Steal Your Girl. Who's that? Why did I just hear that? I'm sorry. I don't mean to bring... I'm not trying to channel right now. But that's what happens. So excuse me. I mean no disrespect to anybody that's watching. And thank you for anybody that has taken the time out to watch it. And hopefully I don't have to record this again because I don't mean any disrespect to the Senate the Senate Committee if they watch this video, because yes, I have the evidence that you're looking for, along with other evidence, along with what Ms. Williams is saying. Oh, there's no doubt. But
Closely with Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg, she
Let's get
arranged
into
their
this now.
meetings with world leaders across the globe. She heard their plans for China. She's no ordinary whistleblower, and she comes to tell us not merely about what has happened, but also what is coming. Now, it is our practice, Ms. Wynne Williams, of the Judiciary Committee and its subcommittees to swear in our witnesses before they testify. So if you would, let me invite you to rise, raise your right hand, and we'll get started. You swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you very much. We'd love to hear your opening statement. Take as long as you need.
Excuse my chair.
Chairman Hawley, Ranking Member Durbin, and distinguished members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Sarah Wynne Williams, and I served as the Director of Global Public Policy at Facebook, now Meta, for nearly 7 years, starting in 2011. Throughout those 7 years, I saw Meta executives repeatedly undermine U.S. national security and betray American values. They did these things in secret to win favor with Beijing and build an $18 billion business in China. We are engaged in a high-stakes AI arms race against China. And during my time at Meta, company executives lied about what they were doing with the Chinese Communist Party to employees, shareholders, Congress, and the American public. I sit before this committee today to set the record straight about these illegal and dangerous activities. Meta's dishonesty started with the betrayal of core American values. Mark Zuckerberg pledged himself a free speech champion. Yet I witnessed Meta work hand in glove with the Chinese Communist Party to construct and test custom-built censorship tools that silenced and censored their critics. When Beijing demanded that Facebook delete the account of a prominent Chinese dissident living on American soil, they did it. And then lied to Congress when asked about the incident in a Senate hearing. The willingness to censor was not the only troubling thing I witnessed. I watched as executives decided to provide the Chinese Communist Party with access to Meta user data, including that of Americans. Meta does not dispute these facts. They can't. I have the documents. As recently as this Monday, they claim that they do not operate their services in China. Another lie. In fact, they began offering products and services in China as early as 2014. That hasn't stopped. Their own SEC filings from last year show that China is now Meta's second biggest market. Meanwhile, Meta's AI model, Llama, has contributed significantly to Chinese advances in AI technologies like DeepSeek. Facebook's secret mission to get into China was called Project Aldrin and was restricted to need-to-know staff. There was no bridge too far. Meta built a physical pipeline connecting the United States and China. Meta executives ignored warnings that this would provide backdoor access to the Chinese Communist Party, allowing them to intercept the personal data and private messages of American citizens. The only reason China does not currently have access to US user data through this pipeline is because Congress stepped in. Meta started briefing the Chinese Communist Party as early as 2015. These briefings focused on critical emerging technologies, including artificial intelligence. The explicit goal being to help China outcompete American companies. There's a straight line you can draw from these briefings to the recent revelations that China is developing AI models for military use, relying on Meta's Llama model. Meta's internal documents describe their sales pitch for why China should allow them into the market by, quote, helping China increase global influence and promote the China dream. The truth about what has gone on in China matters. I filed a shareholder resolution asking Meta's board to investigate its activity in China, and I filed whistleblower complaints with the SEC and the DOJ. The measure of how important these truths are is directly proportionate to the ferocity of Meta's efforts to censor and intimidate me. I relied on their commitment given in 2018 that they would waive their rights to pursue forced arbitration. Despite that public commitment, they have brought a case against me for hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, they have a legal gag order that silences me, even as Meta and their proxies spread lies about me. This order is so expansive that it prohibits me from speaking with members of Congress. The gag order was sought by a company whose CEO claims to be a champion of free speech. The American people deserve to know the truth. Meta has been willing to compromise its values, sacrifice the security of its users, and undermine American interests to build its China business. It's been happening for years, covered up by lies, and continues to this day. I am here at considerable personal risk because you have the power and the authority to hold them accountable. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wynne-Williams. We're going to have 8-minute rounds of questioning, and I will start. Let me just start with something that you referenced, Ms. Wynne-Williams, a moment ago. Facebook Meta issued a statement again last night saying that they don't do business in China. Now, is that true? Facebook Meta is not doing business in China? Is that accurate?
That is not accurate, Chairman Hawley. Facebook has a $18.3 billion business in China. And to give just one example, in 2014, it launched Oculus in China with a strategy of playing dumb. And Oculus has continued to grow as a significant part of their business.
In fact, they have, since 2014, 2015, they have launched multiple apps in China, often without, well, always without seeking authorization from this government, not informing their shareholders, not informing Congress, not informing the public. And now they have employees in China. Is that accurate? They have a partnership with Tencent in China. Is that accurate? Their Oculus VR business is in China. Is that accurate? So tell me this, why has Facebook Meta been so obsessed, if I can use that word, with breaking into the Chinese market? What is this all about?
It is incredibly valuable for Meta.
Monetarily.
Absolutely.
So we're talking about profit at the end of the day.
We are absolutely talking about profit.
Profit and power. Let's talk about what Meta has been willing to do for profit and power. You said just a moment ago that Meta's dishonesty started with betrayal of core American values, and you mentioned that Mark Zuckerberg has pledged himself as a free speech champion. I notice he talks a lot now in the American media about free speech. I notice he talks a lot when he goes to the White House about free speech and how Facebook won't censor and Facebook will protect the rights of all. Have you ever known Mark Zuckerberg to censor on behalf of China?
Yes, Chairman Hawley.
Let's talk about a few specific instances. In 2017, the Chinese dissident Gua Wingyi suddenly had his Facebook profile shut down. Now, Facebook at first said that this was a temporary glitch. Was that true to your knowledge?
No, Central.
In fact, Facebook shut down this dissident's page. This dissident, as you pointed out a moment ago, was living on American soil at the time. Facebook shut down that page based on pressure from the Chinese Communist Party. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
Let's just take a look here at the documents. Here's some meeting notes taken shortly after a conversation with a Mr. Chow, who's a Communist Chinese Party member, a government official. Here, Mr. Chow asks Facebook, it says to Facebook that they want Mr. Gua's Facebook page dealt with. The notes say that Chow wants Facebook in China, but there are others who don't, so we Facebook need to take measures and do more in such situations to demonstrate we can address mutual interests. And then they go on to list, here's what we could do. We could do nothing, we could say we could do something, or we can do even more than expected, but we need to provide a response to the Chinese Communist Party on what we could do. So here we have evidence of high-level contacts between Chinese Communist Party officials and Facebook asking for this dissident's page to be taken down, Facebook acknowledging this pressure, saying we need to do something if we want to get the party's cooperation, the government's cooperation. And what happened next?
Well, Senator Hawley, one thing the Chinese Communist Party and Mark Zuckerberg share is that they want to silence their critics. I can say that from a personal experience. So I think they came to the right man. This led to a series of events where eventually this man on American soil was kicked off the platform.
So in April of 2017, following these conversations, Facebook takes down the profile, bans it, of Mr. Gua. Then in September, they make that ban permanent. Now here's the really interesting thing. When Facebook's general counsel was asked about this directly under oath in a Senate Intelligence Committee hearing, he sang a different tune. Senator Rubio asked him directly, was there any pressure from the Chinese government to block his account? Was there any pressure to block his account? The general counsel, Mr. Stretch, no, Senator. We reviewed a report on that account and analyzed it through regular channels using regular procedures. Was this truthful testimony, Ms. Williams?
No, Senator.
It's in fact an outright lie, is it not?
It is, Senator.
We just saw the documentation. Facebook received not just a request, Facebook received direct pressure from the Chinese Communist Party and bowed to it and discussed it internally and planned it and then lied about it to Congress. Let's talk about what else they've been able to do and willing to do in order to get this access to the Chinese market. Let's look at some more meeting notes. Here's a readout of a group of Facebook engineers offering to create a censorship regime that will allow Facebook to block all traffic the Chinese Communist Party doesn't want. Phase 0, this is an internal chat. Phase 0, we identify all traffic that are currently blocked in China and we, Facebook, block them. This is a test for us to see whether we can actually identify all traffic from China. And then the chat continues, yes, good way to build trust. And another conversant says, great stuff, guys, let's do it. What do they, give us some context here, Ms. Wynn-Williams, what are they talking about doing here? When they say, block all content that China wants, we, Facebook, do it for them, what are they talking about?
They're talking about activating the censorship tools on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party.
So Facebook creates censorship tools that will allow them to assume the burden, if you like, of censorship, where they will do all of the censoring that the Chinese government was doing. Facebook would do it on their behalf. Is that right?
That's my understanding.
And here you have Facebook employees celebrating it. Good way to build trust. They mean build trust with the Communist Chinese Party, right?
Correct, Senator.
And great stuff, guys. Let's do it. Meaning they greenlit this and went forward to see if they could make it happen. Is that accurate?
That's my understanding, Senator.
All of this, let's be clear, for a murderous regime in China, the most barbaric, most evil regime on the face of the planet, and our free speech champion, Mark Zuckerberg, is here with his team of engineers actively working to make Facebook censor on their behalf. Let me ask you this. What about user data, Ms. Wynn-Williams? Facebook has said publicly many times, we would never compromise user data. It's a red line in the sand. We'd never do that. Never, never, never. Was Facebook ever willing to share user data with the Chinese Communist Party?
Yes, Senator.
In fact, they had a plan for that, didn't they? Here's some more documents, internal documents. Update, I spoke with the China team yesterday. They flagged a potential complication arising from our negotiations with the Chinese government. I emphasize this is a Facebook document now. These are Facebook executives. In exchange for the ability to do operations in China, Facebook will agree to grant the Chinese government access to Chinese user data. There it is in black and white. Facebook will agree to grant the Chinese government access to Chinese user data, including Hong Kongese user data. And then they talk about they're going to have to get their Hong Kong citizens to re-agree to terms of service so they can slide this right by them. This is extraordinary. Can I just ask you, Ms. Wynne-Williams, was Americans' user data ever compromised? Or they ever planned to compromise American user data in any way? Do you know?
One of the challenges with the servicing a market as big as China was the internet infrastructure that would underpin that. So I mentioned the cable that they joined between the US and China, and that would be very helpful. But in servicing this market, but it would still mean that the service would be slow. So they contemplated using POP servers, and POP servers as a technical data center that brings the data closer to the end user. The challenge with POP servers is that you can't segregate data. It would have American data, it would have Chinese user data, and it would be on Chinese soil.
So I want to just be clear about this. Here in this document, Facebook is talking about making Chinese user data available to the Chinese government because they're going to store that data in China. Is that correct?
Correct.
But when you store that data in China, Americans who exchange messages or other information with Chinese Facebook users, that would mean the Chinese government could get access to the American data as well. Is that correct?
Through the POP servers, potentially, yes.
And Facebook was willing to take that risk.
Yes, there was a lot of discussion about this, and ultimately, yes.
I mean, this is extraordinary. This is exactly contrary to what Facebook has represented for years. Here, they're willing to build data centers, store data in China. They are willing explicitly to give the Chinese government access to it. And if that means that American user data is also compromised, they're willing to do that too. All for profits in China. There was virtually nothing they weren't willing to do. Chairman Grassley?
I'm only sitting over here because of your charts. I take very seriously adversaries having access to critical technology such as artificial intelligence, and I noted in my opening statement you made allegations about Meta's efforts to help China's government in that field. In your opening statement, you said that Meta's goal was to help China outcompete American companies. Can you explain why they would want to do this, and is there any documentation on that point?
Thank you, Senator. They saw, I guess, part of the value proposition that they could provide the Chinese Communist Party was their expertise in helping Chinese officials. So they explicitly, and I would be happy to provide you with the documentation, called out, U.S. firms. They said, we can help you, China, not have to rely on firms like Cisco or IBM because we can help you with the technical expertise. So they were offering, things like how to build more efficient data centers, or how to ensure that engineers could better understand technology like photo tagging.
Okay. And then, and by the way, that documentation would be appreciated. What was Meta's ultimate goal when they briefed Chinese government on artificial intelligence technology, and what information and technology did they provide?
So I think it links to this value proposition. Meta has some of the best minds of a generation. They've employed the smartest graduates working on cutting edge technologies like artificial intelligence. So who better, if you're the Chinese Communist Party, to teach you about these technologies than Meta? In terms of understanding the extent of this, I think this is a really great area for your investigation.
Now that Facebook has changed its name to Meta, is Meta currently providing the Chinese government with access to artificial intelligence technology?
So it's been well reported that Chinese researchers have used the Llama model both for AI weapons and also that Llama is part of what powers DeepSeek.
Please describe for the committee how Meta planned to share data from American citizens with the Chinese government, and for example, did Meta have any agreements with the Communist Chinese government to provide them with the data? And if so, do they still have those agreements, as far as you can tell that you've been going from the company?
And so part of the challenge, as I mentioned, was building like the internet infrastructure to support their China ambitions, and it was through that internet infrastructure that they would gain access to potentially American citizens' data. I think again this is another very good area to investigate and get further information directly from the company.
Who would Meta facilitate?
So I'm gonna end this one right here. I don't know when I'm gonna put this one out or if I'm gonna re-record, but I'm gonna go to the when they said about what was it? The intern, and they were talking about the little man and the blender, and you know, so many theories or whatever, but pretty much you're that small. And it said, you know, jump out, but no, pretty much is you got to slide up the edge and then yeah, you jump out because you're that small. That blade's going like that, right up and jump up. So that's to anyone that needs to know how to get out of a blender that you're what that yay big and you're stuck. I mean, the questions they come up with. I mean, it was kind of funny. But yeah, that was a theory that I came up with. Pretty much is just climb up the side, push yourself up, and then you're able to just get that little. I mean, you remember you had that much. You just gotta have the huevos. You gotta be able to just do it. You can't be scared. You know, and that's what this is really about. Being scared. You know, just going after what you believe in. Pretty much. And yeah. So just go up that side. That blade's right there. But remember, it can't touch you because there's so much. You have so much room to play with. Anyways, hopefully I put this one up. 144 as I mean, I can't make certain things up, but I mean, I said a prayer for everyone that was in the committee. Miss Holly, I believe. I'm sorry, I'm bad with names. Miss Williams, for you and your family, and they did want me to pull. If you happen to see this, which I don't know, they did want me to pull, so you know who you have around you in spirit. And the spirit of ISIS around you. Just don't worry about nothing. Like I said, triumph of the goddesses. You are a goddess. Like I said, these are just confirmation. It's the mother of life, nourishment of the golden grain mother. To all the mothers, the abundance. Anyways, hopefully that helped you, and let's see if I post this, which I will. I just don't know when. Again, I want to try to keep certain things apart. But thank you for watching, sharing, for anything. But have a good day, okay?